Evening, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Mr. Dunn, and today we will be looking over some of the characteristics that make great organizations great teams, and some of the things that we might be able to implement for the teams that we coach or the teams that we're part of. Um, Today we'll be examining the second best franchise in the West of all time, NBA team San Antonio Spurs. Shout out to my Lakers fans. But we're going to be briefly looking at San Antonio and what makes them stand out as a great organization from the top to the bottom. San Antonio, just a little bit about them. San Antonio is a basketball team based in San Antonio, Texas. They were originally an ABA team and became an NBA team. When you're talking about being an effective coach, you have to mention Greg Popovich. As most know, Coach Pop. He's a five-time champion, rated top 15 head coach of all time. He's produced Hall of Famers like Tim Duncan, soon to be Kawhi Leonard if we can get him healthy, David Robertson, and more. He definitely gets the most out of his players. His style of motivation is to be honest, kind of more of a not an authoritative figure, but one who knows how to get the best out of you. He's seen many times coaching in the moment, telling players what they need to change rather than telling what they're doing wrong, which is very encouraging to a lot of younger players that are very impressionable. His competitors even say the same thing. It's not often that you get a competitor that you speak highly of. It's usually enemies at all costs. However, Greg Popovich, he's been known to get the best out of even his adversaries. They know when they come to San Antonio or when San Antonio comes to town that you have to be on your P's and Q's. Though some of their seasons have been tanked or low putting, he produces great players. And though they may not be good fits for the team at the time, their transition over to other teams show that they had a pivotal role and they know how to adjust, which speaks a lot to getting the best out of his players, motivating them properly, and then equipping them to get the job done. We're talking about development and getting the best out of your players. Let's talk about leadership. It starts from the top and it has to trickle down to the bottom. So Greg Popovich himself and all of his captains have this style of leading from within. So doing what they expect others to do, showing up to work early, developing, working on the weak parts of the game, and then also approaching it from a team perspective rather than a solo perspective. San Antonio has been notorious, or infamous, should I say, for being a team that you have to beat the team and not the player. So they've established a system in which it's going to take a strategy to defeat the whole team rather than isolating a player. You could see it back when they had the Twin Towers with Duncan and Robinson. On the blocks, you had to beat both of them, and then you had to trap the guards. Also, leading over into this new time with Wembanyama, Chris Paul, Matt Castle, you have to play the whole floor. You can't just focus on one person because their system is dedicated to defeating you. And that happens because the captains and the coaches buy into this thing that it's a us thing and not a me thing. Let's talk about team cohesion. A lot of professional teams, whether it be basketball, football, soccer, cohesion is necessary, especially in team sports. Social cohesion is necessary. That's where you know the player outside of basically your profession. You get to know them personally. You get to know their habits, their preferences, things of that sort. And those relationships bleed onto the court. It makes a better connection. It makes it much easier to work with someone that you actually know and care for because you want to see them win. When you have no investment on that person or that teammate or in that organization personally, it's highly likely that you're not as invested. You won't have as much to put in with someone that you are invested with. In this, San Antonio is also notorious for task cohesion, which is another cohesion to where you know players' capabilities, their weaknesses, their advantages. When Chris Paul comes off the screen this way, you know he's going to try to look to dump it to this. When he comes off the screen this way, we know it's going to dump it to this. If they're running a high-low or we're running a flash or we're running a 4 down, We know what each player is capable of doing out of each position, out of each possession. And San Antonio really buys into putting players in positions to win. Therefore, the team will win. Um, and it speaks volumes back again to that leadership and motivation. You're motivated to buy into the person next to you because we all here for the same thing. And if we're not, we're here for the wrong reasons. Let's pair up something. Let's pair up the cohesion and let's pair up the communication. As an organization that's made very, very huge moves in this last 6 months, getting different guards and trying different sets to make sure that not their star player, but their focal point is getting the ball, or he's getting the right amount of touches to where he's comfortable and others can score off of it or capitalize where they can. The communication is very fluid throughout the court. Fortunately for the San Antonio Spurs, they have a veteran like Chris Paul who is able to voice what the coach is desiring on the floor, and if he sees anything else, he's trusted with the ability to call an audible or to call out that difference or to help be that other coach while Coach Pop is not on the floor. You can also see the other guys chirping in to say what they see, their preference, and sometimes it might not be suitable for the package that they're running, but it's noted and it's respectable. And it goes back to the cohesion part because each voice matters on the court. If I don't have that social cohesion to where we've built some type of a relationship, I'm not really interested in what you're hearing or what you're seeing, should I say. I'm not really interested in your perspective on that. I'm not even really moved by your ability at all. I'm more focused on what I'm able to do. But with that cohesion, it makes you trust my communication. Hey, I see when he's coming off that screen that he's shading off. You can just pull that 15-footer. Or I see that when that double's coming, that back door is wide open. Trusting each other to communicate that, and then trusting each other's ability to follow through and capitalize on that is huge. And San Antonio does that very well.